Are you constantly pushing yourself on your transformational journey, always wanting to exceed what you think your current limitations are? Pushing your boundaries, getting outside of your comfort zone, taking action on things you've never taken action before, doing work to heal your past so you can step more confidently in the world? But sometimes you encounter these barriers. Well, today I want to talk about a specific type of barrier that can stop us in our tracks, and that barrier is pain. Sometimes when we step forward, we get pain in our bodies, or we uncover pain in our bodies, or we get injured or encounter disease. And actually, this pain can be just part of this journey as we step forward, something that we haven't experienced before because we are testing ourselves, we're pushing ourselves to the limit. And today I brought in a very special guest who understands pain and who understands the root cause of pain and could help you get a better handle if you're encountering pain or want to eliminate the possibility of having pain in the future. Stay tuned. Are you on a transformational journey to share your message in a more powerful way? Always consistently trying to exceed your limitations, find new possibilities in your life, heal your past so you can step forward even more powerfully. But sometimes you encounter those barriers, those limitations that can slow you down or even stop you. Well, today I want to talk about one specific kind of barrier to your growth, and that is pain. I'm not talking about the pain you feel when you pay your taxes or do something you're not really excited about. I'm talking about the pain in your body. The pain that you may encounter when you push yourself to the limit and something starts to give. Be it your knee, your back, your neck, your shoulder, some pain starts to manifest and grow and grow. And this pain can linger. For example, I had this shoulder pain for almost a year because I was pushing myself so hard. But it wasn't until I started to get to the root of the pain, start to get help, that my shoulder started to gain its flexibility back and I started to gain my strength again. And today I brought in a very special guest, somebody who's helped me gain more flexibility, gain more confidence in my body. And his name is Cory Center. Cory Center is a man with a simple and powerful mission to help people feel better. He devoted his life and his career to helping people, especially entrepreneurs, get out of pain and start living life to the fullest. Cory discovered that one of the keys to getting out of pain is removing the subconscious barriers holding you back. He's an accomplished musician, published poet, author, and certified yoga teacher. With a natural gift to heal the body through touch, Cory has been helping people heal for over 20 years. Welcome to the show, Cory.
Thanks, Ron. Happy to be here.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here. I know you just had a baby last year, and so you have a lot going on with that. Plus, you're serving the world in so many different ways, so I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a joy. I always love spending time together.
You're one of my soul brothers, I have to say, because I love your heart and I love what you're doing in the world and really helping people to find more freedom in their life. And you do this through this powerful way of helping people really get to the root of pain. A lot of times in this world, we just cover up pain. We're taught, to take pills or do certain things, but we're not really getting to the root. Tell us a little bit about, what you do.
My basic philosophy is that pain is always a symptom of something deeper. Whether that something deeper is a limiting belief, an emotional wound, or something of that nature, a subconscious barrier of some kind. If you don't get to what that root cause is, no matter how much massage or surgery or supplements or exercise you do, that symptom, that pain is always going to come back. Or worse, what I've seen a lot is people will have lack of mobility or they won't be able to feel certain things, even though it hurts. Like I had somebody I was working with, and every time she would move her shoulder, it would pop and it would crunch. But it had been happening for so long that she didn't feel the pain in it anymore. Because the body can't operate in survival mode all the time. And the unfortunate thing is, especially with entrepreneurs, your body is operating in survival mode, and it makes it really hard to have that clarity to spread your message.
I totally agree, Cory. You know, I've encountered more body ailments in this part of my journey when I started to really embrace me as a messenger and do the inner work to uncover all those things holding me back. And the more I push myself, the more I encounter these challenges with my body. And recently, you know, I've been realizing that it's something that I need to find help with. Because a lot of us healers think that we can do it all ourselves. But it's been a blessing that you're here. I know that we had a workshop this weekend where you spoke, and I was doing a lot of the filming, and you took a break and you really did just a few minutes of pressure points. And I noticed from that, at the end of the day, I was able to not feel any more pain. And actually, I felt more relaxed on this shoulder than the other shoulder because you didn't work on this one. It was amazing, the kind of work that you do. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Can you share us a little story of why you're so passionate about helping people overcome pain?
Absolutely. I'll share my story since I was a little kid, because that's when I first started realizing that I had a gift to help people. I grew up in a very Christian household and read the Bible a lot, which there's a passage in there when Jesus says, you know, put your hands on people and heal them. And I really took that to heart and started doing that. I also had a lot of intuitive messages for people in my church, which thankfully was really nourished. It was really accepted and really cherished. So it allowed me to flourish when I was younger. Now, the problem with that came when I was a teenager, and it was no longer an acceptable thing. People started to resist, people started to get upset. I started to feel more like an outcast and like something was wrong with me because of the gifts that I had. So I just shut that part of myself down. Started to numb out and started partying, you know, doing a lot of drugs, that kind of thing, which very quickly after 2 horrific breakups turned into crime and drug addiction. And I landed in prison in 2010 for bank robbery. And that was a turning point in my life. I realized immediately, this is not who I am. This is not where I want to be or what I want to be doing. So for the next 2.5 years, prison became a monastery for me. And I read the Bible cover to cover, realized there were some good messages, but that wasn't my path. I studied Buddhism quite extensively, which more of my practices are Buddhist than anything else now. But that wasn't quite it either. And so I studied a lot of magical and pagan systems. And I reconnected with my own spirit guides and my own core essence. And once I did that, I realized we all create a prison for ourselves emotionally.
Wow.
Long before we ever make it to a physical one. And many of us don't ever make it to a physical one. I was fortunate enough to have that experience. And I say fortunate because it allowed me to face all of my demons. And when I got out of prison, I actually met my wife a week later. And, now we have a business, we have a son, and our life is amazing. Mm-hmm. I realized that I wanted to help people deal with those demons and deal with that stuff before it got to the point of where I was. And even after the fact, like if you're there now, no matter where you are in life, you can make it. You know, I have a successful business. I have a great family. I love my life. And I went from being a homeless drug addict, going through the prison system, to make $100,000 my second year of business and be thriving.
Beautiful. Love your story. And I can't even imagine you talking about your past because you have such a big heart and you love serving people in a powerful way. I just can't imagine that part of you. But I know in my life, I've also experienced some really deep, dark times that has helped me to find myself, because in that emptiness, there's only one thing left. It's to find yourself.
Yep.
Either find yourself or you lose yourself even more. It sounds like you did find yourself.
I did.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So tell us about what you discovered about pain.
I discovered that every pain that I experienced was connected to something else. So I had a shoulder injury. I dislocated my shoulder when I was 18. And for 10 years, it gave me problems. Until I discovered one of the modalities that I use, which is myofascial release with John Barnes. And I had him work on my shoulder. And as he did, it started to unwind. And what that is it's allowing yourself to go into a subconscious state of movement. When you do that, your body can actually re-experience a trauma. And when it does, you actually release whatever that emotional wounding was. And I'll tell you something that's very interesting is right after he worked on my shoulder for 5 minutes, I have never had a problem since with that shoulder.
Wow.
And it had been weak. I hadn't been able to move it properly, and it was always painful for 10 years.
Wow. That's a pretty powerful story. It sounds like the body has almost like this grieving process that it needs to go through. And the work that you had done with that shoulder, it seems like it allowed it to go through that grieving process, to go through all of those emotions and finally release the trauma that was locked up in there.
Absolutely.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, another way that I actually look at it and that I tell people a lot is your mind and body work very well together. Your mind says, this is too much, it hurts too much, it's too intense, whatever. So you dissociate. And your mind tells your body all of those things. Your body says, yes, you're right. I'm going to stick that thing somewhere in the body that no one's going to touch. Well, that's fine because it's actually helping you to be safe.
Yeah.
The problem is when it stays there, all of a sudden it festers and it grows and it becomes this restriction. And when it becomes a restriction, it causes lack of mobility. So you can't move like you once did, can't participate in activities. It creates weakness where you're just not as strong as you used to be. Or creates physical pain where it hurts. Or it gets really hard or it gets really tender, any of those things. I work on the fascial tissue. So the fascial tissue is a tissue that connects your entire body from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, and it's uninterrupted. That's just one huge sheath of tissue.
Is that over the muscle?
Yeah. So it's between the muscle and skin. Often if you've taken any anatomy classes, they have you just clear it out of the way so you can get to the muscles. Well, what science is starting to find now is that fascia is actually more responsible for movement than anything else in the body. Because when it's locked, nothing else can move. And for every inch that is restricted, it's like having 2 small horses standing on that 1 inch. It's 2,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. Imagine that when you have a restriction that's this big sitting over one of your organs. It's incredibly painful, starts to cause other kinds of problems, cancers, needs for surgery and all these things, when if you just treat that tissue. I've had several people come to me that were supposed to go to surgery and didn't need it because we got to the core issue.
Wow. Tell us more about this restriction, 2,000 pounds a square inch. Is that our bodies really just coming together and holding parts of ourselves so tight that it causes pain?
Yeah, so think of the fascial tissue like a web. It's like a hydraulic system. So the web will move and it'll connect and it'll do different things to allow your body to move and bend and do the things it's supposed to. Well, now imagine a paintball gun. Okay, when a paintball hits a wall, it splatters. Well, when you get an impact in the body, the same thing happens. It splatters, then that tissue comes together and it locks up and to protect it, and it gets stuck. See, the beautiful part, which is also the curse of fascial tissue, is it doesn't register what's supposed to be there and what's not. The beautiful part of that is if you need a joint replacement or you get pins put in somewhere, it'll lay over it and it'll treat it as it's part of your body, because it is now. The problem is when you get that restriction, it just holds on and it gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and it hurts more and more.
So the traumas that we encounter in our body, whether it's through surgery or some other injury.
Even emotional. If you go through something really emotionally significant, that'll hold in your body too.
Interesting.
I mean, think of a heartbreak. Think of the last time you were heartbroken. Think of the actual pain physically in your chest that you felt. That is an emotional injury, and it does stay in your body.
Wow.
And even a lot of us healers, as we were talking about, we do a lot of work to open the heart. Well, a lot of times when I work with people, I find that the heart itself is open, but the back of the heart is armored. It's so tight, it's so hard that you can't get to it because you're not wanting to get stabbed in the back again. People come to me because they want to cultivate their intuition. Well, when that fascial system is stuck, intuition can't flow through the body properly. So when we release it and we open it up, then your intuition is fully flowing and you can fully listen to those messages too.
Wow. So you will be a more powerful messenger when you allow that system to open up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So why is it that sometimes we have this pain and we go maybe to a healer and then we get that pain again? What causes the pain to keep resurfacing even after treatments?
Oftentimes what I've noticed is you'll go with traditional therapies, not all, but most. You'll go through and you'll process something at an intellectual level. And so you'll really work out the details, whether it's, like psychotherapy or any of that kind of stuff. You'll work through, the mind level, which is good. But often it's still stuck in the body and on the emotional level. Mm-hmm. Now, when you go to like massage and things like that, it'll help you get down to that level to start feeling it again. But there's a certain effect that happens when you're able to hold something for 5 minutes or longer. There's a chemical reaction that takes place in the body. And with that chemical reaction, it actually allows the tissue to open, which allows that emotion to move through. And most traditional therapies don't hold things long enough for that to happen. So I think massage is very useful because it allows people to relax and to feel what's there. Mm-hmm. But if you're going through something significant or you really want to have that breakthrough and that healing, you need to do something that's going to go deeper and really address the emotional piece.
Interesting.
For like a physical level, I think massage can be great to give you some relief. Same thing with chiropractic. And actually what I do works really well with chiropractic and allows it to stick because I don't mess with bone. I don't adjust people's bones. I don't have any desire to do that. But what I will say is I have chiropractors that refer people to me, and it works fantastically together.
Beautiful.
Because the soft tissue softens, and then the bones will actually reset and stay where they're supposed to be.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm working with a chiropractor now, and I'm looking forward to working more deeply with you to see what happens with my shoulder injury. Almost a year ago, the pain's just been there, and it's been a struggle for me. But I noticed my chiropractor told me that there's layers that she would align me, and then another part would go out of alignment, and then she'd align me. She says it could take a process of weeks, maybe 6 weeks sometimes. So are you saying that alongside with what you do, that actually could be accelerated?
Yes, definitely. What I will often tell people, because I kind of need to, is that your body will go through a healing crisis. So as we talked about, there's that tight knit, 2,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. Well, if you've had that for a long time, your body is considered that normal. So when you release it, sometimes that area will actually become more inflamed or more painful for a couple days because the body is going, I don't know what to do. This isn't right. Mm-hmm. But then after a couple of days, it realizes, the pressure's gone, the pain's gone, I can relax, and the inflammation will stop.
Interesting. So sometimes pain isn't the measure of whether it's getting worse or better. It could actually get better, but get more painful just for a short period of time.
Yes. Sometimes you have to go through hell to actually heal.
Really? That's good to know. When you say hold, is that like a pressure point? Is that holding a posture? What do you mean by holding something for 5 minutes?
So a lot of times the way that I will move is very slow and very meditative. So I'll put my hands on an area and I will move the tissue. And in moving the tissue, I'll sink in and then move. And when that happens, it's actually stretching the fascial tissue, which allows it to release. And then as it releases, I'll move my hands, maybe 1/8 of an inch to go to the next barrier, the next barrier, and the next barrier. And it's a matter of, most traditional therapies will work an area for a minute or two, which allows the elastic muscular component to let go. Mm-hmm. And we all think like, that feels better, that's a release. Mm-hmm. And it is, but it's only like the first step of the release. To actually go through and get that full release takes another 3 minutes after that initial 2, at a minimum. And the longer you can hold something, the more it can actually release.
Got it. So tell us a little bit more how people can start to reduce the pain in their bodies and get to this subconscious level.
First is becoming aware. Like I said, a lot of times if you've had something that is chronic that goes on for a long time, the mind will stop letting you feel it because it doesn't want you to be in survival mode all the time. Mm-hmm. Your mind is actually a beautiful thing. It's there to protect you. Yeah. It's there to absorb information and protect you. I actually get really annoyed with all this talk of like, you got to kill the ego and the mind is the problem. And it's like, no, the untrained mind can cause a problem.
Love that.
When you train your mind and you train your attention, your focus, it's actually a very powerful tool.
I agree.
And so that, I guess, would be the first step, is to start to train your mind. Because when you can place your attention where you want it to be, then you can start looking at, oh, I have this pain going on in my shoulder or my knee or my hips or wherever. And you can start to notice. Noticing and awareness is always the first step.
And what's the best way to start building that awareness and noticing?
I often, don't be scared, but I often say meditation is the first part. Now, I've learned several kinds of meditation over the years. Mindfulness meditation, in my opinion, is a terrible place for people in the West to start. Mindfulness meditation is just sitting quietly. Unfortunately, our culture is set up to distract us. So trying to sit mindfully and just watch your thoughts go by is like trying to sit on the side of the freeway and watch the cars go by and not react. Almost impossible.
I love that.
So a lot of times I'll give body sensing meditations, something I call attention training, because that's really what meditation is. And I'll start off just feeling every part of my body. Even you can do this at home. With each breath in, flex a new part of your body. So start with your feet. Take a deep breath in and flex your feet tight. And as you exhale, soften. Then the next inhale, add your calves. Exhale and soften. And then your upper legs and your glutes and so on until you tense and release your whole body. A couple of things will happen within this. Number one, you may find places that don't soften. That's telling you that part of your body needs attention even if it doesn't hurt. The other thing is it'll change your state almost immediately. And it only takes, a minute or two, which is a wonderful thing. But noticing what doesn't soften or noticing what hurts within that just minute or two meditation is a good way to start checking in, like, oh, I should probably get this addressed. From there, you can, put your hands on it, see what you notice. Is it hard? Is it hot or cold? Is it supposed to move and doesn't? All of those kind of things.
Yeah, that sounds very powerful. Because a lot of times we just think generally about our body, but we never focus on point. And really understanding what's happening when you tense and relax, because that can give a different experience. So what's the next step once you realize, hey, there's tension in a part of your body?
I teach people how to unwind also, which is, as I was saying, accessing that subconscious movement. I teach people how to do that on their own. I work with people to get a lot of the main restrictions to release. And then I teach them how to unwind, because it's a way to actually do maintenance on yourself at home. It's a way to just let your body move into whatever position it needed to and work through whatever that trauma is. And once you've removed the bigger pieces, you can do that without any problems. So whether it's with me or with another practitioner, find someone to work on you. The closest to what I do is myofascial release. It's a big part of my work. You can find a practitioner near you. Just look up myofascial release and with John Barnes, and you'll find a directory where you can find people. I'm in the Bay Area. I also do a lot of acupressure and a few other things. But all the practitioners I know, all the ones I've met so far at least, are wonderful. They all have their different things of expertise. So you need to be able to get to the root and get the physical treatment at the same time.
Yeah. Especially that emotional part.
Yeah.
I think that's the tricky part, because a lot of times we do get healthier. Maybe we're more active and maybe it's covering up that. But then when we hit a different part of our life, when we're not so active or we're not eating right or we hurt ourselves, then we start to feel the pain again.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a lot of these things like massage may allow us to get some relief, but there's still that emotional part.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit more about the unwinding. A lot of us think unwinding maybe like just relaxing, going on vacation.
Right.
Yeah. What is it? How do you unwind your body?
So a lot of it is allowing your conscious mind to take a break, which we don't do. We don't want to relinquish control because we're afraid what other people will think. We're afraid that we'll embarrass ourselves. We're afraid that whatever that wound or those wounds were will come back and we'll have to re-experience them. The thing is, you're constantly re-experiencing whatever that is, the more you don't work on it. You're constantly putting yourself in situations where you're going to face that same embarrassment. You're going to face that same wound over and over and over again because your body is constantly bracing for that to happen because it needs to actually go through it for you to heal. And that's what unwinding does. It's allowing yourself to just take off your brakes and move. A lot of times I will just put on music without words. I tried to do this listening to Tool once. Don't do that. It doesn't work well. But something without words. And I will often start in a yoga pose, something that I can't hold forever, and then just allow my body to move. And just not worry about how it's moving. When you access a subconscious movement, your body will never injure you. It will move you in positions that you never thought you could get into, but it will not injure you. What it will do is it'll let you work through a trauma. It'll let you actually get back into a position where you experience something, and it may stick, you may shake. Shaking is actually a really good thing, by the way. And then it'll let go. Sometimes you'll be very conscious of what the wound is. Sometimes you will not. The way that I tell people about that is sometimes you're just taking out the garbage, but you don't always have to open it up and look to see what's inside.
Love it. So it sounds very similar to allowing yourself to dance.
It does.
Yeah.
It's very similar to contact improv, but very different in its intention. The other piece, going back to the shaking, when you experience something traumatic, car accident, major injury, any of those things, and people try to keep you really still, it's not actually allowing the energy to move through you. But if you just allow yourself to shake it off, you actually move a lot of the pain out.
Wow.
I actually did this. I hurt my back playing with my son the other day, a couple weeks ago actually. And I just set him down, and all of a sudden I had like this excruciating pain in my back. So I allowed my body to shake, I allowed myself to move, and most of the pain subsided. Now, I needed to go get worked on still. Thankfully, I was at a training with my teachers. So I went and got worked on and fixed it. But just that shaking and that movement, it actually dispelled a lot of the pain that I was experiencing.
Wow. I've actually experienced the shakes. Usually it's from an emotional shame or trauma that I've been working on. And as it comes out, my whole body just kind of shudders unconsciously.
Yeah.
Like I can't control it.
Exactly.
And so that's me releasing.
Yeah, and if you try to control it, actually, a lot of times you'll cause more injury. But if you just let it move, you'll be fine. I mean, look at animals. Animals, after they fight or after they're scared, they'll run off, and the first thing they do is shake it off.
Interesting.
All animals do it.
Wow. Maybe that's a really good practice for people with stress.
It is. But again, it's hard to actually let go and to let yourself do it.
Yeah, not consciously shaking, but just allowing your body to do it.
Yeah.
Got it. So thank you, Cory, for enlightening us about this pain that we may suffer in our body, especially when we're going through the motions of healing, and helping us to get more clarity and more relief. Thank you for joining us today. As you know, we're on this amazing transformational journey, and sometimes that journey could lead us to feeling pain. And when we feel pain, remember what Cory said, to take that time to really connect with your body, to experience what you're experiencing, to know where you are, because it's that awareness that's the starting point to being free from pain. So until next time, keep shining your light in the world because the world needs it. Take care now. Bye-bye.